Welcome to Muse Monday, a conversation series with emerging artists and recent graduates about making it, mastery, and being a multi-hyphenate in the entertainment industry today. My name is Bryce Dallas Howard, and I'm founder of Nine Muses Entertainment, and you are about to meet the wonderful Nia Farrell, who will be your host for the series.
Hey everyone, it's Nia with Nine Muses Entertainment, and today we have two special guests for you, Rachel Lipkin and Bianca Rogoff. Rachel is a screenwriter, producer, occasional performer, and lost cause looking to tackle socio-political discourse through a comedic and accessible lens. She's currently working on a 70s-inspired neo-noir detective screenplay. Bianca is an actor, singer, producer, and aspiring dinosaur enthusiast. As an interdisciplinary artist, her current interests lie in community healing, the intersection of technology and live performance, not taking herself too seriously, and expanding her global network. The three of us are going to talk about different artistic paths and how to embrace breaking the mold.
Hey Rachel, hey Bianca, how's it going?
Good, hi Nia.
The double trouble is unreal. Welcome to Muse Monday. Well, it's so good to have you here for Muse Monday. I'm really excited to talk to you about being a multi-hyphenate, but not necessarily in an artistic context. And you'll guide us through how you kind of market yourself and give yourself that edge when you're stepping into new rooms. I'd love to start with, what's your artistic practice? I know we all got our BFAs in acting, but we've branched out beyond that. So what are you up to?
I kind of did a little bit of a weird path. So for a lot of the advanced training, I actually did internships because I wanted to I knew I loved performing and I loved acting, but I was definitely itching to do something a little bit more. And I wasn't really sure what that was. And I didn't want to give up my major and just completely try something new by like junior year. So I decided to do that through a bunch of different production internships and kind of get a general sense of what the entertainment world looks like. And through that, then eventually that led me to Bryce's class, which is where I truly fell in love with writing and doing screenwriting. And so that's kind of my main focus right now as I work 9 to 5 in production as an EA.
That's so cool. Yeah. Bryce's class is definitely, I feel like, where the juniors and seniors go and they're like, I think I want to do something more. Is there a class that'll help me figure that out?
Definitely. So it was a really cool experience to be able to kind of branch out, and that's kind of where we reconnected as well. So it was a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, because I had a somewhat similar, like I was in a new studio, so the musical theater studio first, and then I kind of felt like something was missing. I don't know, just had like an intuition, just an instinct after my freshman year. And so I went and I did Gallatin for a year, and I did some business of nonprofit management, some anthropology, sociology. I just wanted to get a bigger understanding of the world. And then I studied abroad. So all of my advanced training was all abroad pretty much. And then I finished in Shakespeare. So even though like my training was very predominantly in acting, like my year abroad taught me that producing was also something that I had my heart invested in. It was really important for me to like kind of get a sense of how do we bring these social and political movements to the forefront and have these voices that don't necessarily always get heard have the opportunity to be heard, because those are the voices that I'm interested in hearing and like want to be a part of. And so I kind of really craved that. And it doesn't matter if it's in the independent or commercial sphere. I just think that these are the stories that need to be told, and I wanted to be a part of that. And like just being an actor wasn't enough for me at that point.
I think there's a lot of pressure, at least in like an institution or like a school setting, to kind of like pick a path and commit to it full force. The fact that like we committed to a major right when you walked in, but it's so wonderful to hear that you took opportunities just to see what's out there. If it stuck, great. If it didn't, you tried it. What would you say to those naysayers who are like, well, you figured it out a little later than everyone else? Do you feel behind?
Not at all. I actually think that it can be a huge advantage, and it can actually work in a way that helps you get further ahead. I mean, there's a lot of tracks that work and they're kind of like one-way routes. And that's great for people who know specifically what they want. But for people who don't, you have more room to play and experience a lot of different things. And it's just stuff that you get to add to your tool belt. So I think that it adds a huge factor. Yeah.
I think you're also allowed to want multiple things at once. You know, I had a friend my sophomore year who said, what dreams do you have for yourself, and are those dreams imposed by others? If your dream is to be an actor, then be an actor, but that doesn't mean that your dream can also be to be a writer or to be a producer or to be a singer. You know, all those work together.
And understanding that dreams aren't a fixed state, like it's totally a fluid form, your dreams can shift. I think that's a beautiful question, and I'd love to turn that out to you two. What are both of your dreams in this moment?
So I mentioned that I'm really focused on screenwriting right now. Ultimately, I really love working with people, and the wonderful thing about our little writers group as well is that we keep each other motivated. And there's something I think that like it's easier to create ideas, I think, when you bounce off of other people's energy as well, because like locking yourself in your room and just sitting there and be like, all right, like generate is like very difficult, and it works great for some people who function that way, but for other people that's not necessarily the path that they like to go about. So I think that with that, I kind of want to work my way into a writer's room, and I'm really interested in political satire and like comedy and kind of that realm. I like a lot of like kind of action-y type things. Like Barry is like one of my favorite shows where it like incorporates comedy but also drama and like these like different worlds colliding. I love things like that. So that's definitely my dream at the moment.
I think that a lot of my judgment previously was really, as a lot of people's can be, clouded by like, oh, well, there's only one path to success. This is what I've been sold. Like, we have to turn out this way, that way. But really, like, I realize I'm not very interested in that. You know, I think I'm much more interested in what I was kind of speaking about earlier, which is just really being in the present moment. And like, that sounds kind of like general, but it's really like, okay, today, what do I want to create? What do I want to focus on in my creative sphere? And I'm really right now interested in like where performance and technology intersect, and like how to be innovative in that realm, because I feel like this like new generation that's on TikTok, and you know, we were talking about them earlier, like they're so creative, and like they can do such like unbelievable things that I would not be able to do at the age of 14 probably, just because there's like I didn't have the same kind of access. And like for me, I'm curious, like it's about to like hit a breaking point. We're about to like move one step further into that direction. So what does it mean to have virtual reality? What new stories are there going to be told? Like AI, you know, I'm just like what is the next generation of storytelling is kind of where my dream is. And at the same, and reinventing new old stories while really being a part of the new ones. And I'm really interested in forward motion, and as an actor, as a collaborator, as an innovator, like that's kind of where my head is right now.
You two brought up like community, the importance of community, and like being present in innovation, and that's not only a dream, but that's the future. That's a very like tangible thing, and y'all, this is it. We're making it right now.
Oh, yeah. It's also crazy because like in a post, like what is this going to look like in a post-COVID world? And we're on this brink of like kind of redefining and reshaping what the industry is also going to look like. And as people who are coming up into that role and into that space, it's going to be like, it's going to be a huge game changer. And there's so much like tangible things that you can mold and create, and having things in your way and roadblocks just leads to more creativity, which I think is a really special place to be in as well.
So what's the bridge between these dreams and futures that you have and your skills? How can you apply kind of your multi-hyphenacy outside of an artistic context?
In terms of like taking the acting background, being able to mold it in a way that works for you and applies to different scenarios. So like I've also done a couple of like digital marketing internships, and a question that has come up a lot is like, why acting? Why are you interested in this, and how does acting relate? My answer is always the same. It's always that it's basically a hands-on psychology course, but instead of reading about it from a textbook, I get to live the experience, and therefore I have a more intimate understanding of various people and the way that they think and the way that they operate, and therefore it kind of extends into larger circles, in being able to kind of see and think about how other people view materials and what they look for and what people's interests are. So I think you can kind of spin anything really into working towards your advantage. And so, yeah.
When you're an actor, you inhabit different roles. Like that's kind of the point, right? So like you get to kind of fake it till you make it, which is like I'm realizing is a lot of what life is. Post-grad is really just walking into a room and saying like, hey, I belong here.
The more that you kind of get to branch out and experience as well, it ultimately comes full circle back into your writing. So even just by living your life, you're still ultimately using that towards what your main goal is.
Yeah, there seems to be this incredible relationship between your artistic training and life and your personal life. One feeding into the other feeding into that. And it's knowing that all your tools support each other. You don't have to just be working in an artistic space in order for the skills to apply.
100%.
Totally. And I also want to point out that like, you know, we wanted to make sure that whoever was watching this is like, we wanted to share our experience. We also wanted to give some sort of, you know, advice from what we've learned. And it's kind of, you know, we are speaking from a very privileged position of having gone to university, having the ability to take, you know, to do internships. Some of them from my end were paid, some of them were just not paid. And, you know, that's something that we were able to do. And also to be able to study abroad. Like, you know, that's stuff that's like not just willy-nilly, like not just something you can just do. But that doesn't mean that your story is invalid in any way, shape, or form. What actually is at the core of what we're saying is like, we want you to people want you to bring yourself to the table. And that can mean whatever that means for you. So if you're just like, you just want to write a script, then write your script.
Another wonderful thing about the online community as well is that if you don't have anyone in your immediate area that can help you with those things, you can reach out to people online and see what opportunities there are. There are Facebook groups, there are online forums. You can DM people on Instagram. It's the whole shebang, yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you for bringing that up. It ties back into what you said earlier, where there's really no being behind. If someone is giving you a timeline, that's just a construct of what has worked for one particular person. But just because you found your hyphenates a little bit later, that doesn't make you behind. Just because you didn't go to training, that doesn't mean you're behind anyone else. It's more so about how you utilize the resources that you do have available.
Yeah, exactly. And the time that you spent not on that specific track just made you more of an expert in a different field that you can then bring into that creative world.
When you walk into a room and you're like, hi, this is who I am, you're allowed to define that for yourself. Just kind of what we've been saying, all about what it means to like take up space, and not even just in a way that's like, I'm taking up the whole room. It's actually being able to stand in your own self and say, hi, my name is Bianca and I'm an actor and a multi-hyphenated artist. I do a lot of stuff, and right now this is what I'm working on, X, Y, and Z.
I've seen a lot of people say they're hyphenates, but they're a little timid about it. They're like, yeah, I guess I act and I do a little writing and directing, but what is it to fully like step into your whole body and whole self and say like, I do X, Y, and Z? Exactly with what you said. That's so exciting.
Yeah, I feel it's the same. Like sometimes I feel like there's also a rep that goes around like actors and artists where it's like, oh, you're very floaty, or you know, there's like a stereotype that kind of could like fit.
Can't be tied down to one thing. Of course, the artist does a bunch of things they can't commit. I have commitment issues for other reasons, but my multi-hyphenacy is not a commitment issue.
Yeah, truly. There it is.
I want to acknowledge that we've been speaking with kind of an anything is possible kind of attitude, which is totally helpful. I also know that it can kind of be a coping mechanism for all the challenges that we face in order to get to that kind of more energetic, positive attitude. what would you say have been those like larger obstacles? What have you been going through in order to get to this kind of what feels effortless place?
Yeah, a lot of self-doubt. My coping mechanism is like this relationship and like this like I have people who know me and who care for me. If I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now, if I picked up the phone and called them, they'd be like, all right, we're gonna take a step back. And who can kind of reframe things for me and help me out a lot, because things get muddled when you're talking about expression. And yeah.
Definitely. I mean, having a great support system is, essential in any space, really. And it can be difficult to find and locate that. And I felt that way for a very long time. I, for a while, felt like the odd one out in a lot of different scenarios, and like not fully feeling like I fit in with the whole like Tisch environment, and also not necessarily like feeling a little too weird for like the rest of the world. Do you know what I mean? So it can also take time. So I think being patient with yourself is super important. And also like with self-doubt, it takes a lot of leaps of faith, and it's okay to have absolutely no idea what's going on and not knowing what you're doing. And like, even now, like when you're first learning, it's like training wheels. You're not going to know how to do anything, and you're going to think that everything you're doing is wrong the entire time. I still feel like that. Everyone has imposter syndrome on some level, but knowing that that's normal, and you like have to kind of take away those doubts, because otherwise you're just going to feel stuck and you're not going to be as mobile towards working towards your goal.
I'm not comparing myself to other people anymore. At least I try not to, right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole point. It's like I try really hard, where it's like, oh, well, this person did this thing and they're only 18 and I'm way older than that. I'm not way older, but you know what I mean? It's like, then you start getting into like, your own insecurities of like not feeling worthy enough or not feeling capable enough when you see somebody else like you're comparing your worst day to their best, and that's just you just have to learn how to reorient your mind, and that's something I'm constantly working on. And also uplift. That's why I also went into producing, just circling back. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to uplift the things that I want to learn how to do too. I think that's something that as artists, we're not actually taught to do. We're not taught how to support each other. We're taught how to break each other down in a way, or find comparisons, or feel as if it's like one person's journey and like, winner takes it all, and I don't think it needs to be like that.
I mean, yes. I really appreciate you kind of pulling back the curtain on what is in front of that can-do attitude. There's self-doubt, there's imposter syndrome, but there's also a lot of community. And there's a sense that like the circle rises together and we can help each other out. And there's self-reflection, knowing like what you can offer and like where you can support others and what you need support with for your own work. Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. I think it's kind of important to hear that like it's not just I believe in myself and now I will. It's like a constant affirmation of like, okay, I'm going to be facing this, and I will continue to push forward.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for breaking down the timeline of what's expected and really affirming like the right timeline is the one that you're on right now. You can follow Rachel and Bianca in the comments, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
See ya. An artistic context.
Wait.
That was wild. The blank stares I just received.
I was like, wait, which question is that on the Google Doc?
That was panic. That was like completely.
I thought